What is up, everybody? Happy Sunday. Welcome to another episode of the Black Line Brief. I'm your host, Matthew McKim. Hope you guys have had a good weekend so far. Hope it's been restful and a blessed weekend. Skip that. Cool. Stream looks good. Awesome. Hopefully audio looks good. What up, Mystic? What up, Elizabeth? What up, LW? Hopefully everybody files in as we get along. If you guys would do me a favor as we get started, would you guys please smash that like, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already, get notified of when I do my lives. It is the best way to help support the channel. Thank you very much. Kristen, hi, Kristen. What do we got? Frenchy Life. Does that mean you have a French, like a Frenchie, like a French bulldog, or are you from France? Vive la France. Who do we got here too? And okay, all right. Well, we got a good show for you today, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be looking at some developments that aren't like necessarily directly tied to Tyler Robinson and the Charlie Kirk assassination and investigation in Orem, Utah. However, it is kind of like a reference as to the character of the police departments in Orem and like Provo, Salt Lake, and American Fork, which speak to what they're willing to do. Okay. Are they willing to lie? Are they willing to break the rules? Arrest people that aren't guilty of anything? Harass people? Are they willing to take the law into their own hands? Yes. In my opinion, yes, they are. And you're going to see, I think you'll come to the same conclusion. All right. We're also going to look at something from Trump. He did an interview, but I've been researching. Oh, I need to pull that up too, by the way. A personal theory of mine. Okay. Let me see. Where does it say? Trump and the art of the deal. Art of the deal. There it is. All right. Let me scroll to the top. All right. All right. Forgot to pull that up. For those of you that are Christians, right, we know the scriptures say that no one could serve two masters, right? And honestly, I've spoken about this before, that Trump, you know, it's not really our place as humans to determine if someone's saved or not. Okay. But it is our role and ability within the body of Christ to determine we are called to judge one another accordingly. And it's just my opinion. I don't think Trump was ever a Christian, right? We knew his life never reflected that he was trying to apply Christian ethics and morals and values. And his pursuit always was money, fame, power, influence. Somebody's life should be easily identifiable as a Christian just by how they live, their marriage, their kids, how they have relationships, how they conduct themselves at their workplace. And yes, there's variations within there because we're all flawed and sinful and fall short of the glory of God. But nonetheless, you should still be able to look at someone and tell if they're a Christian or not, especially if they claim to be. And if you remember when he was asked early on in 2016 what his favorite verse was, he didn't even know a verse to quote. He couldn't even quote like John 3:16. And he's like, I like the whole book. I like the whole book. Not to mention he didn't swear in on the Bible. So I do believe that you can't serve two masters, and money, power, fame, influence, you know, has always been his master. And when you see that he wrote a book about that, basically called The Art of the Deal, he never wrote a book about his faith, about Christianity, about God. No. His focus has always been one thing. And I think his run in 2016 and his first administration, his run the second time when he lost, what happened to him in the interim, and then now in his second term now, is his real life application of the art of the deal. And I'll go into that when we get there. We're going to look at that. We're also going to look at someone named Rabbi Wolicki, who reported himself to be Charlie Kirk's rabbi, even though Charlie Kirk wasn't Jewish. Okay. And he was never he never held that position within Charlie's life anyway. All right. We're going to look at him and some things he said, and we're going to evaluate that Zoom meeting phone call the night before Charlie passed away. Or sorry, yeah, before Charlie was assassinated on September 10th, so it was on September 9th. And this is the Zoom call that I spoke about last night, that when he got off, he was upset. And that led, I think, people from that Zoom call to reach out to Erica through text, probably, that it was her turn. She was being, tagged in the game, in the ring. And that when she approached Charlie and tried to get him, in my opinion, to listen to the people on the Zoom call and to do what they wanted, it resulted in an argument between them. And I'll go more into that as we get there. But so those are the things that we're going to cover tonight. It's going to be a good show. For those of you that weren't here in the very beginning, please hit the like and the subscribe as you get settled. It's how you can help support me. Thank you. All right. But first, we're going to look at a video out of Wolves in Finance that dropped today regarding an unrelated incident in American Fork, Utah, which is right next to Orem, Provo, Salt Lake City. They're all like neighboring cities. So, and American Fork would have been one of the police departments to respond to the calls on September 10th, whether that be the K9 unit, which they do have, and other units that were available would have been called in to assist at UVU and in Orem in the manhunt, whether they needed some of their K9 units. They have a very well-respected K9 unit with bomb sniffing dogs and things like that. There's an unrelated case that Wolves in Finance covered today regarding fraud, corruption, and how the American Fork Police Department handled it, and how the, good old boys club is still up and running, at least in these cities within Utah. It's who you know, who's connected to who, they're all related in some way, shape, or form, not genetically, but there's a lot of genetic relation within Utah between, people within the community. But they're all, not all, but most that live in Utah, especially in this areas, are LDS, Latter-day Saints, formerly known as Mormons. So let's take a look at this video and then let's talk about it. As we go along, please get your supers in. I'll get to them as soon as they come up. I hope Sweet Sassy T shows up tonight. It looks like she thought that I had not done her super chat last night, but then after the fact, she went back and saw that I did. I will always read your guys' super chats. Always. I'll never not read a super chat. All right. All right. Let's get it going.
List that would have been his. that Amanda didn't sell, and we set it aside. And it's still sitting there. We're happy to give you your stuff back. I just don't want any more damage to the store.
It sounds to me like he is guilty. So this YouTuber, Ben, has been reporting on this story, and the owner starts threatening him.
You, man, you stole them.
I stole the Legos?
Yeah, you're a thief.
Dang.
Okay?
Okay.
You can shut the up. That's your choice.
Of all the people in this story, the owner yelling on the phone like a crazy person is not the person I'm going to trust. Ben sues the store in Oregon. They do not show up to court, and he wins in a default judgment. Then they close the store so they do not have to pay him.
All right, so a little bit of backstory. It's really not as important, but I mean, it's sad. There's this elderly gentleman that had over $200,000 in Star Wars Legos, and this individual was dying and needed the money and consigned them at this store, which is a franchise that resells Legos. And then there was a bunch of fraud and corruption where they pretty much stole his Legos and said, tough cookie. We sold the company, or we sold that franchise to another person, and we didn't know that it was in inventory. It was all a bunch of lies. They had it. This YouTuber, the young kid with the longer hair, did investigations into it in a documentary in trying to find out and help this elderly gentleman either get his Legos back or the $200,000. And when he was on the ground in Utah, the police started hassling him, arresting him and his team multiple times and trying to scare him, and then acting like a gang, like the mob, like the mafia. And yeah, so that's the little backstory.
Ben initiates another lawsuit against the store owners personally and travels to Utah to serve them the legal paperwork. Once he arrives in Utah, he starts getting harassed by the police. He was pulled over because the police claim he ran a stop sign. The police stopped him a second time and searched his car for 2 hours looking for heroin when there was no sign he had any drugs.
Yeah, you could end up in jail in Utah when you're from Cali.
Okay.
Not worth it, right?
Yeah.
We play differently here.
We play differently here. So these gentlemen know that they're on police body camera, okay? The cops, right? They know that they're being recorded. And so they're going to say things to get their point across, but also say it in a way that's a little bit ambiguous or vague and open to interpretation, to where if this ever went to court, this cop could be asked, what did you mean we play differently? And literally he could say anything he wanted, because it's not as obvious. I mean, he could mean a couple different things, but in the context of the situation, it's clear that he means we do what we want here. You can't come here and think you can just do whatever you want, even though this young man and his team weren't breaking the law. You still just can't come here and mess with our citizens that are well connected and know people and are friends with people within the community or in government or the police department. We don't play like that here. We don't mess around. We look out for one another. We stick up for one another. We play differently here in Utah. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Governor Cox, Tyler Robinson, UVU, and the Orem Police Department. This is the American Fork Police Department, but they're right next to each other.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
When Ben went to the owner's house to serve papers, the police arrested him. He was released from jail on bail, and they arrested Ben's friend for helping him. Then they swatted Ben's house with an army of police with guns and arrested him and all of his friends. They are charging Ben with stalking. This is all because Ben is exposing Bricks and Minifig.
Uh-oh. Whoops.
This because when they stopped Ben for the traffic stop, this is what the police said.
Oh, who's Ben? Me? Ben? How's Utah? It's good. Like it?
So I said uh-oh because I'm doing a live and they just showed weapons. Hopefully it doesn't cut the stream. Forgot about that part. Holy smokes. On a live, it's different. I really hope it doesn't cut the stream. Anyway, I guess we'll see in a second. Usually the AI takes a minute to catch up, but so if that happens, that's what's happened. That's what happened. But so the police department then catch up to him again, and they're like, "Hey," and it's supposedly just a traffic stop. Like he ran the stop sign stop, and they come up to the car, and they're like, "Who's Ben? Where's Ben?" And he's like, "I'm right here." And he goes, the cop goes, "How you like in Utah?" Good, huh? These things, these statements, just like we play differently here, these are threats. These are threats. Like, we know who you are. We're watching you. You know, we're going to do whatever we want to you here.
It sounds like they were not pulling them over for the stop sign. It seems like they were doing it because Ben was in the car. Here is the footage of the stop sign showing that they did stop. When the police searched his car for heroin, this is what the police said in their body cam footage.
Good with these guys being able to drive?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't see anything clear as day with Tyler that I noticed.
What's the goal of
Right now? Yeah, I was gonna scare him a little bit and let him go is all I really was gonna do.
He was gonna scare him a little bit. So unlawfully detain him. All right. Make a false traffic stop. Okay. And then, unlawfully detain them for 2 hours and say that they're looking for drugs that they know don't exist because they know why they're pulling him over. They know who he is. And they are going to intimidate them, these kids who are just doing a documentary. Yeah, the whole Lego thing is so crazy. Yeah, I agree. And they're going to scare these kids under the color of law with their badges, uniforms, and weapons because they can. Because they protect each other. And because they play differently here in Utah. And so if they're willing to do that for, another local Utonian who is a business owner who clearly, in my opinion, broke the law when it came to this cachet of rare and very expensive Star Wars Legos, robbing basically a dying man. You don't think that they're going to do what they did to Tyler? You don't think that, the local Orem police finding the weapon after the FBI gets there, Governor Cox and the sheriff and the issues with the timeline and, when Tyler was arrested, when he was Mirandized, did he still have his phone? How could he have sent those text messages? Were they authentic? And still to this day, the Utah County Attorney's Office and the FBI and ATF and local law enforcement not handing over the necessary evidence and findings to the defense team for Tyler's team to mount an adequate defense of him. And you don't think that the same type of, breaking the law by the police in those areas is happening at Orem? It's happening in this case at America Fork, which is literally like the town over. I do. I definitely do. Let me make sure there's no other weapons or anything, because then he's going to get to this. Yeah, here we go.
Charges, or are we just tired of them being annoying?
According to the police, their goal was to scare them by searching their car for heroin for 2 hours. This is why I think this story is so important. Police corruption like this is a lot more common than people think. There are wealthy people out there who think they can use the police as their personal bodyguards to go after their enemies. They will invent fake crimes to torture people. In this case, the police are harassing a journalist for exposing really horrible alleged crimes by the store owner. Why are these police taking the side of the Lego thief? Then the chief of police of the American Fork Police Department released a public statement in response to the public outrage.
My name is Cameron Paul, and I am the Chief of Police for the American Fork Police Department. I'd like to address the members of our American Fork and Cedar Hills community regarding some videos currently circulating on social media that have been presented in a way that calls into question some of the actions of our departments.
In my opinion, the chief of police lied throughout this whole statement.
Yep, I agree.
He claimed the police were justified for arresting Ben for stalking, for pulling him over at the stop sign, and for searching his car for heroin, even though we have all seen the videos showing the exact opposite. Why would he release a public statement where we can all see that he is lying? The public outrage over this is justified.
Agreed.
Now, I've been covering the Charlie Kirk investigation. One of the main reasons that people have questions about the murder is because of the local police.
Yep.
There are all these strange contradictions, like the timeline of when Tyler Robinson was supposedly arrested, because it doesn't match up with the records or the time he was supposedly posting on Discord.
Yeah, and if you guys don't realize it, so Barron had covered this a long time ago, but those messages on Discord posted at like 8:27. Is that what it was? Let me see. 8:57 p.m. But he was in custody at like 6:24 p.m. How? I mean, I guess there is a chance potentially. I don't know how high of a probability or possibility it is that he was Mirandized but not arrested and was placed in an interrogation room for, it would have had to have been 2.5 to 3 hours and left with his phone. But I just don't see that being likely or probable. And so then you got to ask, okay, then who had custody of his phone? Well, the FBI were there. They were on scene early, right? And they were helping and assisting local law enforcement. So it's not necessarily that the local law enforcement, someone there did the text, Discord chat, but if through Orem police, they took custody of Tyler's phone and then handed it to FBI, because at that time, the FBI was heading the investigation until eventually later on, it was all tied up in a bow and then handed back to the state of Utah. And they said, we're done. And they bow out. It would have been someone within the FBI, possibly, in my opinion, that would have sent those Discord messages, which were a confession pretty much, And so, yeah, we all have justification and real cause to question all of this. And anyone spitting the official FedSlop narrative and calling us crazy only serves to ignore all the facts.
This is an important fact. We don't want to glaze over this fact. If he was arrested on September 11th, if he was Mirandized at 6:25 p.m. on September 11th, that means he was Mirandized an hour and a half before he confessed on Discord. He tells the sheriff, I don't want to answer any questions. I would like to speak to a lawyer before I talk further. And then I'm to believe while he's declining to answer any questions, an hour and a half later, he picks up a phone, gets on Discord and says, oh, I did it, guys. I did it. It was me all by myself. I had no help. There was no overseas allies.
And like I said, it's possible because you can be Mirandized and not yet arrested, handcuffed, and your belongings taken from you and taken into evidence. That can happen. You can be Mirandized early on in an investigation, even in like a DUI investigation, right before you get arrested. You be Mirandized because anytime they ask you any question, they need to make sure that they had Mirandized you first. And so there is a potential that Tyler was Mirandized but not arrested, was allowed to keep his phone, especially if it declined to talk. If he declined to talk without his lawyer present, then they had two options, right? They put him in an interrogation room and wait for like parents. Well, no, he's an adult until the lawyer comes, or they arrest him and then they still don't question him though. Because once he said, I don't want to talk, they can't ask him any more questions, but they maybe wanted to sweat him out, or maybe they wanted him to self-incriminate himself. And a lot of people are stupid enough to do that. They're placed in an interrogation room with their phone. They text, sometimes they call people, and then they self-incriminate. It's possible. I don't know that it's likely, but yeah, I just want to point that out.
There was no military involvement. It was just me, and I did it for my tranny friend. That's it. End of case. That's the Fed slop version.
And then the video of him being brought into the police station is mysteriously missing.
And that's weird.
I submitted a public records request to obtain any video of Tyler Robinson walking into the jail facility. Washington County responded saying there were no records responsive to the request, as Robinson did not go to the jail area. Our request for any holding room video was denied. A few weeks later, I re-upped the request on a more generalized scale for surveillance video showing Tyler Robinson walking into the
because the first time this request was denied, it got denied on like a technicality, like they didn't use the right words. You know, they wrote back and they were like, you know, oh no, we don't have any video footage of Tyler turning himself in that area of the jail that you mentioned, or the police department. And then they re-requested and they're like, okay, any footage from any department where Tyler was, do you have footage? And they're like, oh, no. We don't have it because it's past the 30-day notice or the 30-day retention time frame. If you would have requested it properly the first time, you might have got it. Are you kidding me? This kind of massive assassination of Charlie Kirk, they're not going to retain that footage. Even if it automatically deletes after 30 days, in this case, you're not going to maybe save that for some reason, just in case you might need it. I mean,
sheriff's office.
For the state of Utah, we would certainly hope that this video is available.
The response? Our office does not have any applicable records responsive to this request, as the surveillance footage is no longer available after the 30-day retention period.
If, in fact, it has been destroyed and not preserved, it's very concerning.
It is.
And if it has, then it's very concerning that they're telling you they don't have it.
Yep.
This has raised questions about police corruption in the Charlie Kirk case.
100%.
Let me show you a map, just so you understand what is going on. Salt Lake City is here. American Fork is here. Orem is here. And Provo is here.
Look how close they are. American Fork, Orem. American Fork, Orem. American Fork would have responded to some of the calls on that day to help and to assist. Okay. Yep. 100%. We have every right to be suspicious and not accepting the official Fed slop narrative. It's total nonsense. And the people out there that are holding down the official narrative side, like Paramount, not so tactical, it's really not a massive leap to go, what would be the incentive for him to be doing this? Because early on, in the early days after the assassination, he was a major criticizer of the official narrative. There's no way it could have been a 30-06. There's no way. Like, he even started to speculate whether Charlie was wearing body armor. He's like, the shirt behavior is bizarre. No exit wound is impossible. Something has to explain this. And then he gets awarded a contract, and then he starts changing his tune. And then he has now he has these relationships with Andrew Colvet and TPUSA, and literally becomes the front, the front runner of defending Erica Kirk and TPUSA, right? And releasing BS alibis, whether that be for the flights or for Erica with that photo, constant communication with Andrew Colvett. So it's really not a huge stretch for us to be like, I mean, what are you getting out of this? What quid pro quo is going on here? Are you paid? I mean, you did just receive a government contract. That's paid. That's a nice, plausible, deniable way of saying, no. We bid for the contract. We got it. It has nothing to do with this. Okay. All right. Let's see. I think that's all he really talks about further here. Yeah, he goes back into the Lego thing. Yeah. All right. Now, let's see. Let's go here. Let me make sure you guys can see that. All right. So this is Rabbi Payesh or Peshesh Wolicki, who was on that Zoom call the night before Charlie was assassinated. Okay. The night that after this Zoom call, he sends out a text to Andrew Colvett, Frank Turek, and Dan Flood saying, I think they're going to kill me. And they want you to believe he meant crazy, liberal, trans leftists, even though all of the pressure, all of the hate he was getting privately and publicly, online and in person, all had to do with Philly, from his donors or people that were, associates of his, not necessarily friends like Josh Hammer and this guy, but their number one allegiance is to Philly, not to America. It's 100% because it's tied to their salvation within their religion. It's tied to their heritage. It's tied to their family. It's tied to God. Their allegiance is to Philly first, especially because, just like Bibi said, America is the new Rome. And Rome is what destroyed the Second Temple and destroyed Jerusalem. Okay? And he said it multiple times. We are the new Rome. The United States is the new Rome, and we're not going to lose to Rome again. Not to mention how far back the battle with the Catholic Church, which before they, the power structure morphed from Rome into the Catholic Church, and then the Catholic Church had a huge influence over here. There is no way that these people are first and holy allegiance to the United States for, above Philly. There's just no way. And I think Charlie began to see that even though these people, and remember, all of these individuals are dual citizens. Dual. I don't even think that's a good idea. I think you should have to choose. Like, you should just have to choose one. And that may be controversial to people that have dual citizenship. But it just opens up for individuals to have dual loyalties. And then if we were to ever go to war with the country where people are dual citizens, like, that puts these individuals in predicaments and puts the country, the United States, in a predicament, because now you have citizens that could potentially be living in the United States, but be loyal to this country you're at war with, right? Even if it's a silent, non-kinetic war, like I think we're in with Philly, All right, let's take a listen. Oh, wait.
and the world of MAGA and the America First movement, but someone he could trust.
Can you guys hear that? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to yell. I had to turn it up. I want to make sure you guys are hearing that you can hear it good, because I'm playing it from like a tab I don't usually play. It's how it was sent to me. Can you guys just give me a thumbs up that you can hear him when I play him, Rabbi Wolicki? Yes? I just want to be able to know before I hit play again and have you guys staring at him. I don't know how far behind the chat is. I don't have anyone give me thumbs up yet, letting me know that you can hear him when I play him. All right. I'll just hit play. Oh my goodness. Why does it do that every time? Oh my goodness. Come on.
And has access to accurate information, because he knows there's a lot of disinformation out there, and he wants to be able to be in touch with someone who, because Charlie's number one interest was always the truth, to get to the truth, so we were introduced. Meaning we already knew each other, but basically, when he was looking for someone that he could trust, to talk through these things, so we started a regular WhatsApp relationship.
Charlie was looking for someone that he could trust. I think we're going to find out as this moves on, this interview, and just from what we know, from what Candace has said, and even Tucker, others. I don't think that Charlie should have or could or even did trust these people at the end. I mean, and really everything leading up to the 9th, when it comes to like, did he trust them? Like way back, it doesn't matter. Did Charlie trust these people from June to September? Did he still trust them in the end after everything that was happening to him? Okay, that's what matters. And my opinion is no, he didn't.
And there were conversations, and I appeared on his show a few times, and it really, over the months, it was a regular texting relationship, and as he was preparing for his campus tour, that Utah was stop number one, was supposed to be stop number one on his campus tour. As he was preparing it, he decided that he wanted to have a meeting with a few people that he trusted to talk through Israel issues, because in those campus visits, unbeknownst to most people, we all see the viral clips that they cut. We don't see the whole event. But Charlie and his people have said to me, they've told me that between 40 and 50% of all the questions he gets on those campuses are attacks on Israel, or meaning attacking him for being pro-Israel. He's in a position of defending Israel. I can't believe I'm talking about him in the past tense. It drove.
Yeah. Partly, I think you're responsible for that, my dude. They used to, TPUSA, when Charlie was alive, would upload the full campus event. Maybe there were parts edited out that we didn't see, maybe. But for the most part, they're 2.5 hour, 3 hour, the full outdoor event. So he's trying to act like, oh, we didn't see the full events. Okay, I thought you said you were his friend. You're talking about like an Instagram video, the viral clips. You're talking about Facebook viral clips, or on X viral clips. Did you not know that all of his campus events, before he passed away at least, were all uploaded in full, and they were complete, like hours and hours long? So he wants you to believe that, oh, that was only a small percentage of how many people would ask Charlie about Philly and attack him about him protecting Philly. And there was so much more, 70% more, or 70% total were about Philly. Come on.
He wanted to be talking about America, but he found himself defending Israel on a regular basis, and going back out to the campuses, he wanted to go over all the hot button issues that have to do with Israel today, and talk through them and come up with a position and talking points that he felt comfortable with. So Josh Hammer was on the call, Josh, and I was on the call, and a couple of Charlie's staff, and Charlie, and that was the call.
I don't know why he won't name who they are. So here's the issue. Here's going to be the main issue here. This whole thing is going to be Rabbi Wolicki's framing of the context of why that call was made by Charlie, right? And he says that Charlie wanted the call. Charlie's the one that made the call happen, told everyone on the group chat. So they have a group chat on their phone. And then out of everyone in that group chat, he said, we need to hop on a phone call. Given everything we know about those last weeks and days of his life, we know that he was increasingly getting more and more and more pressure from donors and from people wanting him to disavow, denounce Tucker and Candace, Megan even, right? He had Megan on, and they went full court press on Philly and everyone attacking them, calling them anti-Semites. So I don't think the context and the framing that Rabbi Wolicki is doing of this phone call is accurate. And so that's what I think is so disgusting, is that he's going to get up here and tell us why Charlie wanted the phone call, and then tell us the context and the outcome of the phone call and the purpose. And you'd have to just trust him. You'd have to just take him at his word. But I'm going to tell you what I think as this goes along, because he gives us some other hints, right? They were trying to tell Charlie, who didn't need help. So the whole premise, I reject the premise that Charlie needed help in framing arguments for students that were going to be, against Philly or asking questions about Philly. Charlie had just did that focus group with all of his chapter leads. Okay. All of his TPUSA chapter leads, those college students. He had just done a focus group with Andrew Colvette. Okay. He had already previously done that the show with Megan and Ben Shapiro. He had Dave Smith and Josh Hammer on at the Student Action Summit, and he sat there and moderated that whole debate. He heard both sides of the arguments. He saw which ones won, Dave Smith. Not to mention what Charlie already knew about these arguments. He also had Tucker Carlson on at the Student Action Summit, where he told Tucker to go Max. And he watched Tucker formulate his critiques and criticisms and arguments. And that's just not even taking into context that Charlie was already well-versed in this, well-articulate, extremely smart, well-read on this, that he didn't even need help to begin with. So I reject the premise outright. All right, let me read this. Frank Turek, in his ridiculous sit-down with Jack Hibbs, said he... What is the FT? He FaceTimed. No, Frank Turek was on the Zoom call with Blake Neff and Mikey too. Well, okay, that's interesting, because Rabbi Wolicki just said that some of Charlie's staff and TPUSA and like fellow employees was also on this call. And I'd have to say, if Charlie's the one that asked for this phone call, right, this Zoom meeting, and he did it because of why Rabbi Wolicki said that he wanted to learn arguments for, defense of Philly. Why would Frank Turek need to be on the phone call? Why would Mikey need to be on the phone call? Why would Blake Neff need to be on the phone call? They wouldn't. They never take up the mic. They're not answering any questions for Charlie at these campus events. They're witnesses, though. If Charlie felt he needed other witnesses, American, Christian witnesses to how the conversation went down. If you remember, at the Hamptons retreat, he was bullied, pressured, cornered about this whole issue, right? And Tucker, but also this whole issue on Philly. I think he realized, and only realized even more as time went on between, the Hamptons retreat and this phone call, that he was not amongst friends in that group chat, and that he was singled out and was like a sheep surrounded by wolves. And I think at the time he probably still trusted Frank Turek, Mikey McCoy, and Blake Neff, sadly, and asked them to be on the phone call as backup and as witnesses, in my opinion. That's what makes sense to me. Thank you for your super chat, by the way. All right. Every time I go back and I hit play, it automatically mutes it. That's why it's mute for like a second, and then I'll unmute it. So I apologize. It's just a weird thing that it does.
It was a work call. I mean, it was very much like down to business. Charlie was someone who, always in good spirits, but not a lot of small talk. Let's get to work. We started talking through the issues. But the whole existence of that call, the whole fact that call happened and that it was initiated by Charlie, that he called that meeting and that he put it on the schedule and wanted to talk through these issues, even with all of his criticisms for Israel. And he's had his criticisms, and yet people are blowing that out of proportion, that, he was, he was done with Israel and he was switching sides or whatever. It's all nonsense.
It'd be interesting. I don't have the date and I can't go back. I can't back out of that video, or I'll lose my spot and I'll lose it. But I wonder when, maybe Mystic, you can see, when did Rabbi Wolicki go on this podcast with Ari, Keeping the Faith podcast? When was this filmed? That's important, right? Especially with what he just said. That would be an important thing to note. Because let me back up just a smidge.
Had his criticisms, and yet people are blowing that out of proportion, that, he was, he was done with Israel and he was switching sides or whatever. It's all nonsense.
So it's not nonsense, because we know that Charlie sent the text out, right? All we would have to do is cross-reference that text where he said, these Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. He says he lost another Jewish donor today, $2 million or $4 million. The Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Philly cause. So he's lying. He probably, I'm guessing this was filmed before Candace released that text. And so when people don't realize that there's receipts out there, they think they're good, and they say things and they try to push it out there as fact, when they don't know Candace has got some receipts that contradict your statement of fact. And now it's just a statement of lie.
Case, why on earth would he set up a call with Josh Hammer and Pesach Wolicki to talk through Israel issues in preparation for being attacked for being too pro-Israel and having to...
There. Because he didn't. Simple. I think the whole purpose of the phone call was to tell them everything that he was experiencing, that more donors just took out money, that, Lori Cordoza Moore is threatening him. Other donors are pressuring him, telling him not to have Tucker on, not to have Candace on. You better toe the line, You better toe the line, Charlie. God's going to lift his hand of protection from you. Don't be counted amongst the Edomites, Charlie, right? I think he got on that phone call to say, dude, I'm going there tomorrow and I'm going to say what I'm going to say. Okay? I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and there's nothing you're going to do about it. And then they all tried to get him to turn around. I think he was trying to tell them, like, we're done, back off. I don't need you. And I think that was the reason for the phone call. Because he definitely didn't need Josh Hammer's help or Rabbi Wolicki.
On Israel and defend Israel on campuses. Why would he do a call like that if he had abandoned Israel? It's the most absurd thing in the world. So, there's all this, this ridiculous chatter going on online. But in the bottom line, when we think about what was lost here with Charlie, here was someone who was he was the unifying voice of the MAGA movement. He was the only person who was viewed with legitimacy and respect and even reverence in every part of what makes up MAGA, because MAGA is really a coalition of a whole.
Think about that too, guys. So when I watched this, I thought of something new. And it kind of seems to be true. After the fact, after Charlie's assassinated, the MAGA coalition disintegrates. And ever since, we've been fighting amongst ourselves within the Republican Party, within MAGA and America First. We've split. Okay. If Philly saw that everyone really unified behind Charlie, more so than Trump, Charlie convinced everyone to unify and to go vote and to vote Trump in. Charlie did. They trusted Charlie, in my opinion, more than Trump. And what's evident of that is look at the fallout. A mass percentage of the Republican, base don't trust Trump, right? Yes, there's boomers and there's some, pro-Philadelphian people that still do. But without Charlie, we are now more divided than ever. And it's almost a guarantee, right, that we're going to lose the House and the Senate and that we're going to lose the presidency in 2028. I don't want that to happen. But it's almost certain that that's what it looks like is going to happen. Because if Trump continues doing everything that he's doing, and we're going to look at an interview that he did, and he is, and he's lying 100%. And he's corrupt, and he's all about himself and money and the future of his family when it comes to how are they going to be set up after his presidency. They're his legacy forever, not as the best president in history. He clearly doesn't care about that. But, what deals could he leverage in this last administration to set him and his family up even more so for life? Even though he was already set up, now it's like it's a foregone conclusion he's going to be set up, him and his family, forever, forever, forever. So if Philly saw that Charlie posed a very, very big threat to unify, just like before the German people were led astray, right, with that other ideology about, doing what they did, whatever. And I'm not going to get into that right now. But unifying people, about being nationalistic, having, pride in themselves and their country. Charlie had us unified on that, bringing America First values back and like making people be so proud of it, to wear the hat, to fly the flags, to not be ashamed to be a Christian Republican, like I think it was for so long, because the left dominated the social cultural spaces. To be Christian, to be outspoken, he gave people an example of how to do it. And it made people become more courageous within their faith and within the Republican Party. And that posed, so a Republican Party united under those principles poses a threat to the left, the ruling elite, and Philly. And I think Rabbi Wolicki unknowingly just said that, right? That Charlie was the glue that held that coalition together. And I think that was just one more reason why they had to take him out. They couldn't even have it a possibility that Charlie could use all of this power that he has amassed in his organization to get people elected that he felt were good, that he felt were honest, or even if he chose to run someday. They could not run that risk. They needed control, guaranteed control of the masses, of the Republican Party, of us. And Charlie posed a significant threat to that.
Actions. There's the, you know what I mean, Ari?
Yeah.
There's like,
Yeah.
there's like the RFK health libertarians, and there's the evangelicals, and there's the, sort of like traditional Catholics, and then there's, which also often dovetail with like, the isolationists. And then you have like the kind of Daily Wire types, and then you have like the Fox News watchers, and these are all different types. These are all people who live in different, and then there's like the Blaze Media gang. You mean like, and there's almost different ideologies going on within MAGA. And the only person who could go on TBN and speak to the evangelicals and go on Fox and go on Real America's Voice with the same authority and the same integrity, being able to speak the language of that audience. Speaking as a MAGA insider, as someone I've been part of the movement from the beginning, he was the only person who really unified the movement.
Yep.
Who could really speak to everybody and was equal and was respected by everybody. So
that's dangerous.
I'm not just saying that as a eulogy and as praise of him. I'm saying that with concern that there's a natural fractiousness because there's so many sects that deviate and so many different ideological points that make up MAGA, and Charlie was the unifying force. He was the glue. That's why America Fest was what it was. Where else in our movement could you have an event where Ben Shapiro gives a keynote speech, but so does Tucker Carlson? I mean,
and I tried to find where that had ever happened previously, where Tucker and Ben gave keynote speeches at AmFest. I didn't find it. It seems like that happened. So maybe this is later on. I don't know. I'll have to find out when the dates of this happened. But yes, they spoke at events before, but Charlie wasn't going to have Ben back on again. He didn't even want to do the podcast that Andrew Colvett made him do his last week alive with Ben. He didn't want to do it. Andrew made him. Charlie wasn't going to have Ben Shapiro and Tucker on again. Ben bought his way onto AmFest's stage by giving millions of dollars to Erica Kirk. It's nuts.
That's only Charlie, because Charlie was the glue that kept the movement together in many, many ways. So these are, I feel like I'm rambling here, Ari, but I love when I'm talking to you, I feel a level of comfort. I appreciated your praise before, that you were saying that you were happy it was me, but you're someone who from the also, we've only known each other, it's almost 2 years, meaning this December it'll be 2 years since we met. Mm-hmm. And immediately I was like, oh, thank God, here's someone I could talk to who understands this, who understands the movement, because you're authentically part of it the way I am. And I've always appreciated you.
Okay.
Thank you. That's very kind of you to say. I remember right after October 7th, I was actually through back channels, because I didn't have the kind of relationship with Charlie that you did, that I was a little concerned about some of the things he was saying. But afterwards, and I wasn't so emotional, when we all calmed down after October 7th, I realized Charlie was looking at a lot of the Israel America stuff through the America First lens. I was looking at it through my family's in Israel, my son's in Israel, my son's joining the IDF. And I was looking at it through that lens. And I
told you. Having dual citizenship and dual loyalties causes conflict within the American citizen that is a dual citizen. He has family back in Philly. His son is joining the IDF, but not the American military. Okay, but he's here in America. And he said he's conflicted because he was looking at October 7th through a Philadelphian lens. And Charlie was looking at it, as all Americans should, through an American lens. Now imagine that with hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of citizens who are dual citizens and have family or extended family back in Philly. Who are they going to choose and side for when it comes down to, if you can't have both America's and Philly's interests be number one, who are they going to pick? Who are they going to pick? You know?
Jewish national identity as a
Exactly.
Jew. Right.
But Charlie was looking at it through, okay, here's the facts. There's this country, there's that country, the way I would look at something with Mexico, the way I would look at something with Canada, the way I would look at that. And the fact that he was meeting with you to refine his talking points, I assumed there was a lot of pushback. I assumed there was well, here's what I believe, and set me straight and tell me about this.
This should be illegal. This should not be allowed to happen. This American and Philadelphian flag blended together. That is an atrocity. Okay? That's nonsense. That's what they're trying to do. They are trying to make us one country, blend our militaries together. This is what JFK was afraid of. This is one of the main reasons why JFK was assassinated. He did not want this to happen, and he was trying to make sure that this never became a reality for us. And he gets taken out. Yep, and it happens. Lyndon Johnson made sure that it happened.
And you saw what I said and what I was quoted as saying in that New York Post article, which is totally accurate. When you know that reporter asked me what the mood of the meeting was, and I said it was combative. Meaning I wasn't saying that as a kind of like, you know, again, like a eulogy or prayer.
What's that? So he just said that the tone and the energy of that meeting was combative. How does that work? Charlie's in Rabbi Wolicki's words, called for the meeting to just ask for pointers, called to just learn how to defend Philly, called them to ask them their opinion to help him formulate his arguments. How could that ever become combative? Supposedly he's asking them for help. Look, I just want to be a good goy and I just want to defend Philly. Can you guys just help me formulate my arguments? Can you just help me craft it? How could that ever be combative? But if that's not the real context of the phone call and the meeting, and it has more to do with what I said, which was him saying like, I'm not your shill anymore. Sorry. I was, you know, shame on me. I was misled. Schofield Bible, dispensationalism. You know, I was led astray, as many of us were. For generations we were. Well, not generations. It, you know, Schofield Bible was in like the, I don't know, was it the 50s, 60s? But for decades. So, no, I don't think it could be combative unless there was opposition, there was pushback, there was resistance. Charlie and them were not seeing eye to eye. That was the reason for the phone call. It gets worse.
Basically saying that was, you know, he was really grappling with these issues.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there was and he gets pulled he was getting pulled in different directions, and I understand that. And his whole life was about hearing all sides. I know that he's also having meaningful conversations with people who are anti-Israel, and that's fine, and he's going to do that, and that's all part of who Charlie is. He's going to expose himself to everything, and and I was grateful and honored for the fact that he trusted me and included me in his brain trust to talk through these issues that relate to Israel, because there's also within him a very faithful Bible believing evangelical Christian who who believes fundamentally in the tenets of what we call Christian Zionism, which is a politically sounding term that I don't like to use, but it's just basically a biblical worldview of what's happening historically with the Jew.
It's not a biblical worldview. You guys, it's not biblical at all. Not at all. Okay. The Rothschilds and the Oxford Press funded the Schofield Bible. Okay. They are the ones that pushed this theology into the United States Christian evangelical Protestant movement. It never made it into the Catholic Church. How is that? It didn't exist before the Schofield Bible. How is that? How does it not matter who funded it and paid for it? Zionism and Judeo-Christian term and values is a lie. It's a lie. And I think Charlie found that out.
And therefore understanding that, okay, the Jewish people have returned to our homeland and seeing that as a biblical event. So that's part of that. You can't separate.
You can, because remember, sorry, I'm pausing it a lot because I'm trying to remind you guys too of other things. We did that video a couple days ago where it was just the audio and the guy talking. That remember when the Rothschilds were looking for a parcel of land, they looked in Uganda, they looked in Argentina. It had nothing to do with the Bible. It was a social political movement, Zionism. Okay. It had to do about them finding a home base for them to do whatever they wanted to do. It had nothing to do about biblical prophecy. Okay. They were willing to buy land in Africa and in South America. They just wanted a piece of land that they could call home. It just so happened that it turned into Palestine. The United Kingdom wanted some money. We just happen to have this land. We'll sell you half of it. Mutually beneficial. It had nothing to do with biblical prophecy at all. That's a later creation.
From his struggles politically, meaning if that wasn't there anchoring him with a positive orientation towards Israel, he probably would have been, I shouldn't say probably, he undoubtedly would have been much further along into the anti-Israel camp, with whom he shared a lot of opinions, and that's where he annoyed people in the Jewish community over the last few months with some of the criticisms he had for Israel.
Like you?
And I argued, I don't know if you saw the piece I wrote in the Jerusalem Post a couple of months ago when he was being attacked after Tucker Carlson spoke at SAS, and people were calling him an anti-Semite. And I know Charlie, and here he's, little do they know, half the time he's on college campuses, all he's doing is hasbara and defending Israel. And he doesn't even want to be. He doesn't even know the issues that well, but he's forced to. But he dutifully, with a smile on his face, defends Israel.
He's forced to. He is forced to do hasbara, which is defend Philly. And it's like propaganda. He's forced to. Forced. That's the word he used. He didn't even want to. He's forced to. Okay.
We all saw what he did in England, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
At the debate, and passionately defending Israel. And that's not even what he wants to be doing. And now he's getting criticized as an anti-Semite. So I wrote that piece in the Jerusalem Post, basically saying, listen, everybody, stop with the purity tests for every single view that he has to line up with, I don't know, Bibi's cabinet decisions. Relax. Okay. This is our greatest ally. Yes, he has questions. Yes, he's influenced by the other side as well. Good. I'm talking to him. Thank God he's honest. He's such an honest truth seeker, such a noble, honest truth seeker, and a courageous one.
Oh, man. All right. I forgot where the part was where he talks about the letter. I don't want to put us all through much more of that guy. But he tries to reframe the letter that Charlie wrote Bibi. And he said that, and why would Bibi let Rabbi Wolicki see it before Charlie was assassinated? Charlie wrote it on May 2nd, 2025. I don't know where it's at in this video. But he says that he saw it. Bibi was sharing a private letter that Charlie addressed to Bibi, not to Bibi and friends, and Bibi was going around showing it to other people. That's weird. And it's just not right. And Rabbi Wolicki doesn't even see an issue with it that he ends up saying it in here. And then Bibi has the audacity to read a sentence out of context out of a 7-page letter. The letter Charlie wrote Bibi, which is on my X, and you can go read it in full, is 7 pages. And Bibi, in the day after, said he reads this one sentence, which completely mischaracterizes the whole tone and purpose of the letter. But he led everyone to believe that it's just like Charlie writing Bibi saying, like, I am and forever will ever be a good supporter and defender of Philly to the end. And that's how Bibi let everybody think. Okay. And so what I also want to show you is, because I showed up on a comment over on, remember we talk about Erin Molan. This lady is one of the biggest proponents and supporters of Philly, even though she's not Philadelphian. She's not American. She's Aussie. And has Rabbi Wolicki on all the time, and Josh Hammer. That's interesting. And she spews the Fed slop narrative. Okay. I showed up on a comment because she just did a thing, condemning Iran. Here is her Charlie Kirk's rabbi pal, destroys Candace, Meghan, and Tucker. Right. Here she is attacking Meghan. Like, if we go to her channel, it's like, that's all it is, And yeah. So I think it was this one. It was this one. And it was what made me really, really sad was that I put a very not like, inappropriate comment. I said, no one wants to hear you shill for Philly in America anymore. Okay. And furthermore, we don't want to hear you continually spew the Fed slop narrative and promote Rabbi Wolicki as Charlie Kirk's rabbi when Charlie Kirk wasn't even Jewish, and when Rabbi Wolicki most certainly contributed to all of the undue influence, pressure, and stress that was being put on Charlie at the end of his life. And she laughs. She responded. But what was sad was everybody in her comment section supported her. And I went through and I read, and I was so blown away that they're all like, yeah, like bomb Iran and, Philly to the end. And, we support Philly. And it just was so sad. I don't know if these are American citizens. I would say that a good majority are, but she is doing a lot of damage here in America by misleading a lot of people. And I think it's just super sad. I think it's super sad that that's people's moms and dads. Most likely, a lot of them are boomers. I don't know many Gen Xers, maybe some Gen Xers on the higher end of the age and the bracket, but most millennials and Gen Z, no way. No way. And so Yeah, it's just sad seeing how many people are believing her stuff. Yeah, it's sad. All right. Let's go here. Trump, first of all, doesn't look very good. Let's listen to this some pieces of this interview.
Welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. We are going to talk about your visit while you're here in Wisconsin, but I'd like to start off by talking about the major issue that you are focused on every day, which is Iran. Mm-hmm. Sunday will mark 100 days since the first strikes.
I really got to be careful because this is a major network. All right. But here, copyright disclaimer. All right. Is made fair use for the purposes such as criticism, comment, news, reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. And fair use. All right. I'm allowed to do this. So, before we get started on this, let me tell you guys something. I don't know if you guys have ever read The Art of the Deal, right? So, I have a theory that Trump's political rise can be read as an art of the deal strategy applied to politics. That Trump would create the image of independence, attack the establishment, make himself appear impossible to control, generate fear among the GOP, donors, power brokers, then convert that leverage into a better bargain once they needed him. I would say yes, right? The art of the deal, Trump emphasizes that deals are his art form and that he does not simply pursue money, but the act of deal making itself. The strongest supporting principle is leverage. Trump writes that the worst position in a deal is appearing desperate, while the best position in a deal or position is dealing from strength, because leverage means having something the other side wants, needs, can't do without. That maps directly onto 2015 through 16. Trump ran as the man the GOP establishment could not control, then became the man they could not win without. He also stresses protecting the downside, entering a deal prepared for the worst. So the upside can take care of itself. Politically, losing could still have increased Trump's media power, brand value, bargaining position, and family influence. Let's see. So the campaign evidence that fits. In 2015, Trump repeatedly sold himself as self-funded and independent from donors. He attacked rivals as donor-controlled, including saying Jeb Bush was a puppet and claiming Sheldon Adelson wanted to mold Marco Rubio into a perfect little puppet. That's interesting because now he's best friends with Miriam. So he attacked Sheldon in 2015 and 16, Sheldon Adelson, for molding Marco Rubio into his perfect little puppet. And now Marco Rubio is on his cabinet. It's in his administration. So that supports my point that Trump used independence from donors as a weapon against establishment Republicans. But the later pattern changed. By 2020 and 2024. Trump was no longer running as purely self-funded like he did in 2015 and 16. Sheldon Adelson was expected to give heavily to Trump-aligned super PACs in 2020. And Miriam Adelson was reported to in 2024 as preparing major support for pro-Trump super PAC, and she gave $150 million and offered to give another $150 million if he ran for a third term. Right on Philly, Trump also shifted from the outsider posture into full alignment with major pro-Philadelphian Republican donor priorities. At AIPAC in March 2016, he called himself a lifelong supporter and true friend of Philly, promising to dismantle the Iran deal, oppose anti-Philadelphian UN action, and move the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem, which he did, right? Trump did not merely run against the establishment, he increased his value to the establishment by proving he could destroy it or save it. That is classic art of the deal leverage. Become the thing the other side cannot do without. Then negotiate from strength. That is my theory, that this whole thing was Trump's plan from the beginning. And it's working out perfectly for him and his family. His son-in-law just became a billionaire, Ivanka and Jared. He most likely will have beachfront prime real estate in Gaza to build a Trump Tower in the rebuilding stage. Trump is part of the team of the rebuilding Gaza. Or Jared Kushner is. All of what he did, I think, was play us like fools, in my opinion. Yeah, don't forget to hit that like. Please hit that like, hit the subscribe. It's the best way to support the channel. I appreciate it. All right. All right, let's continue. Let's listen to some craziness from Trump himself.
Your Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, said that the war had concluded. And yet just this week, Iran attacked U.S. allies in the region, calling it retaliation for a set of U.S. airstrikes. Is the United States at war with Iran?
Well, they've been largely decapitated, and I call it a military exercise because people would rather have it called that. It's not a big war for us. It's not. We have the most powerful military in the world. I built it, frankly. I built it in my first 4 years, and I'm using it a little bit in my second 4 years. Their Navy is gone. Their Air Force is gone. Their anti-aircraft is gone. They might have built it up a little bit over the last 4 weeks during this little ceasefire that we did at the request of some very good people, very, very fine people from actually from numerous places. As you know, there are a lot of people involved, but from
like Philly,
Pakistan in particular, the field marshal and the prime minister.
Sure.
And we're very close to having a deal. And if we don't have a deal, we'll do it one way or the other. Either way, we win.
No, they're not close to having a deal. Philly military launches strikes on Iran following attacks on northern Philly. So Philly just launched airstrikes on central and western Iran. And this just came out right as I was doing the live. In response to missile fire from Iran. So Iran launched missiles at Philly earlier, raising the possibility of a return to heavy fighting and complicating mediation efforts to end the war. It's a war. He won't say it's a war. It's a war. Okay. The exchange of strikes between Philly and Iran further strained efforts to reach a permanent ceasefire in the ongoing war. Interesting.
I do want to talk about the terms of any potential deal in just a moment.
No deal.
But let me just follow up with you. You did post on social media just this week, my final negotiations to end the war with the Islamic Republic of Iran. There is a naval blockade in place, which technically is an act of war under international law.
Is.
So is this a war as long as there's a naval blockade in place?
Yes.
Well, we have a blockade. It's been extremely effective. And the reason we have it is they try to blockade, and now we blockaded them. And as you know, they're losing $400 to $500 million a day. It's not sustainable for them. They have a.
What about for us? Is it sustainable for the American people? How much are we losing with this blockade? How much is it hurting our wallets, where we don't even have enough as it is to make ends meet, and we're living literally paycheck to freaking paycheck, where our money continues to depreciate in value through inflation, goods continue to increase in value. Most likely people aren't getting adequate raises, which offset that difference. Your daughter and son-in-law just bought, a massive island in Albania, off the coast of Albania, which people are protesting. Hopefully they get them to not build there. This is all going great for Trump and the elites and his family. Not going good for us. And it's not even in summer yet. The gas prices are going to go up more. We haven't even made it to where we're feeling the effects of a potential famine because of all of the fertilizer that won't be produced because of the lack of oil going around. scarcity will create prices to go up even further, and it will create panic and desperation. You know, I don't mean to be a doom and gloomer, but I don't think we've seen the full negative effects yet. It's been like this limbo where it's bad because it's worse than it was before, but it's not really as bad as it's going to get. And there's no end in sight, no plan to end in sight, because we can't control Philly and what they do. And so there's not going to be a ceasefire. There's not going to be a deal. That's not the plan. That never was the plan for Bibi. They need to take more land, you know, from Palestine so that they can build their third temple on top of, you know, demolish Al-Aqsa Mosque, the Dome of the Rock. And they need to destabilize and destroy Iran completely.
An economy that's shot in addition to everything else. Their leaders are gone. Their generals are gone. Their first tier and second tier are gone. Much of their third tier is gone. But they put up a blockade, and so we blockaded them, and we have the ultimate blockade. I don't consider that a war, but if you want to define it as such, I guess you can.
Well, how do you define it?
I don't define it at all. I don't think about it. I just do what I have to do.
Oh, you don't think about
If
it.
you're not specifically calling it a war, would you consider sending some of the troops who are stationed there, who were sent because of Operation
You
Epic
mean
Fury
boots on the
there
ground?
home?
Are you
No, would
talking
you
about-
consider sending them home if it's not technically a war?
We don't need as many troops. I think it's just like it's on the to err on the side of caution. We have a lot of people there. They're very safe. You know, if you think we beat Venezuela, we lost nobody. We took over the whole country. We lost nobody.
We took over the whole country. Yeah. Well, you know, Iran isn't Venezuela, dude, and you know it. And we've already lost. I don't know what the toll is up to now, but the last I remember was like 6 or 10 service members. Won't call it a war. Says that we're winning. No end in sight.
A great relationship, by the way, with Venezuela. Venezuela is doing very well, but we lost nobody. We've lost 13 people here, and that's a lot. 13 people too many. But if you look at Vietnam, where hundreds of thousands of people were killed, if you look at
How dare he? How disgusting comparing this to Vietnam. You're saying, oh my goodness, it's not to the Vietnam standard yet. So that means it's not bad. You know what? Compare it to its own standard. 13 is 13 too many that died for a country that's not America, for a reason that doesn't benefit us, and for an outcome that doesn't benefit us. Better not ever become a Vietnam. The fact that he's thinking of it as a comparison, I don't think that's a good sign. Even if we lose like 4,000 like we did in Iraq, or 5,000, that's too many. That's way too many. One more is too many. 13 that we lost already is too many. These people don't care. Our lives are nothing to them. We're expendable. Plebes.
any one of the last 7 or 8 wars where many, many people were killed, we lost 13. And again, 13 is too many. I don't want to lose any. But 13 is less than anybody's ever even envisioned.
And send us home. Send everyone home. End the war. Walk out and say you're good.
I think we're doing a great job.
But so are you saying you would consider sending some of the troops home,
No.
sir? Some of the 50,000 troops who were sent there as a part of Operation
I would
Epic
say
Fury?
this,
no.
It costs us very little to keep them there. I don't consider them in danger. We have the best defense anyone's ever seen. We have the best offense anyone's ever seen.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't consider it danger.
If we have the best offense, why can't we just topple Iran and win? Why couldn't we defend our, Arab allies when Iran literally almost destroyed all of our bases in the Middle East?
Say it would be foolhardy to do that because maybe we may use them. It's unlikely, but I think we'll keep them there until such time as we have a completion. And when we have a completion, you will see things like you've never seen. The oil will go down.
Okay.
The stock market already, as you know, it's hit an all-time high. Even in the midst of it, it hit all-time highs. We had 73.
Why do they talk to us about the stock market like average citizens have money to invest in the stock market? I mean, maybe people's retirements and I don't know, mutual funds and But the average individual, I don't have anything in stock market, like the stock market, the Dow, the NASDAQ is at 500. It's doing so good. That's not a reflection of how we're doing on the ground. At least in my opinion, it's not. Whether the stock market goes up or down, I don't feel the benefit. It's nuts. Yeah, but his daughter and son-in-law just bought an island, 40 hectare island. Yes, it was beautiful. We were on the boat, I forget who they were on the boat with. Was it one of the Rothschilds, or was it who else? Who was it? We swam up barefoot on the beach. We saw it was so beautiful. Yes, it's gonna be so tasteful. Just the best of the best quality. We wanted to make it so tasteful for the art. So all of us, they needed another Epi Island, right? Epi Island is done. Just like anytime we find out, like when we found out about Area 51, they had already moved everything to the Dugway Proving Grounds in Utah. Don't know what Dugway Proving Grounds is? Look it up. It's crazy. It's all underground. Massive. All underground. Dugway Proving Grounds. So when they admit something exists or something is released and they have to admit that it existed, they're already moving operations somewhere else. Okay. Philly and the CIA, once the Epi thing and, the toothpaste was squeezed out of that and the lid was off, they had to already start making plans for another place to do this, whether that's this island or not, because they're talking about it. So it's probably not this island, but it could be, right? We're going to do this beautiful place. We're just not going to tell everyone we're going to have it, fitted with cameras and listening equipment everywhere in every room. Or it's some other island. But yeah, they're so out of touch. It's nuts.
3 all-time highs in a short period of time that I've been in office, which is a record, by the way.
A record.
And, we're doing very well. But the main thing is we cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. Can't do it.
What is
and we won't do it.
Yeah, you just referenced the 13 Americans who were killed. And
Guess what just was released? Like, let me see. I'll find it on here. Supposedly, let me see. Where did I see that? Supposedly, I saw it somewhere. Maybe it was on X. I don't know. I'll find it some other time. It's not on here right now. But supposedly, Iran just got nukes. Supposedly. Yeah. I don't know where I saw it. Anyway.
I want to know what your red line is. What would trigger you to restart military action? Would it be Iran killing more American citizens?
Well, certainly that would
Stop giving him ideas.
be something that I would think about very seriously. But my red line would be if I think I wasn't going to make a deal, or if I wasn't going to make a deal.
Make a deal. Make a deal. Everything is about the art of the deal. It's about getting the best deal for him, not for us.
Fast enough. So we're having very good negotiations with the people that are leading the country now. It's the third group that we've been dealing with, and they are different. And you could say it's regime change, actually, because these are very different people. I find them to be more rational, very smart.
Who is that? Who's leading
Well, I
the
don't want to go
country?
into names, but you know who they are. I mean, they're leaders. They're respected.
We don't know.
Respected by the people that have to respect them. They are calling the shots. We know that because we see it.
They're respected by the people that have to respect them. Who are they? You know who they are. They're people. We all know who the people are. I won't name them.
Through various tests that we've given. It's a little bit strange because you have leaders that have been there for a long time and they get wiped out. Then you have leaders that you also know, the second tier, and they get wiped out. All of a sudden, we're dealing with different people.
I want to hop over here for a second. Let's listen to my man, Black Scout Survival. If you don't know who he is, he's dope. He's got a YouTube channel. All right. Let's listen to some things that Black Scout talks about.
Absolutely fascinating. Every time we're told a story is completely settled, every time we're told there's nothing left to see, every time we're told the case is closed, another document shows up, another witness appears, another redacted page gets released, and suddenly the official narrative that was supposed to be wrapped up with a nice little bow starts looking like a government-issued IKEA project. And today we're talking about the newly released FBI records obtained through Judicial Watch that show Thomas Matthew Crooks exchanged emails with Butler County Sheriff's deputy before July 13th assassination attempt on Donald Trump.
And this matters because it applies to Tyler Robinson, in my opinion. And if they did this with Butler and with Matthew Crooks, they did it with Tyler. They just didn't get to take Tyler out like they did in Butler. Tyler made it in alive, and he never was supposed to.
Now, before anyone starts foaming at the mouth, I'm not telling you what these emails mean, because the FBI isn't either. That's kind of the problem, because apparently they exist, and apparently they mattered enough to be documented. They mattered enough to be investigated, and apparently they mattered enough to be redacted.
Yep.
But somehow they don't matter enough for the American people to know what exactly they say.
No.
Makes sense. Government logic, right?
Yeah.
So we look at this document here. It's heavily redacted, heavily redacted. Now, in the document, it talks about, you kind of pick up bits and pieces that whoever talked to him, they don't explicitly deny meeting him in person. They don't explicitly, I mean, they almost admit to having some kind of Zoom call or FaceTime communication with this guy.
The FBI.
Because if you remember, there kind of makes you wonder, because we got that digital trail, remember?
Yep.
Maybe you didn't hear about this, but investigators reportedly recovered multiple phones.
Yep.
Right? I'm hearing in the upwards of 6 or 7 phones. Other electronic devices, as well as a transmitter. A transmitter.
Oh, it's not Matthew Crooks. It's Thomas. Sorry.
For what? Remote transmitter. We don't know. Now, when the story initially pumped off, if you recall, they said there was a white van that had explosives in it. But unfortunately, one of my followers, one of my subscribers, sent me a video of Thomas Crooks getting out of his car. He caught it on his dash cam. You can go back and look at the video. Getting out of his car and going to Butler. A few things about that is that they immediately, the van story vanished, okay, with the bombs in it. He didn't have explosives in his car, but they also created this story that he came up on a bicycle with a ladder.
Right.
And that never happened either.
Yeah.
Okay. But he had a transmitter of some sort. Now, to think that this kid is the one who made the transmitter is looks a little fruit popish. Okay. I'm not buying it.
Yeah.
I'm not buying it. However, there was a significant turn of events leading up to, we did a full-on scale video about this, leading up to this, where he was conducting some type of training. He was received some type of training. Looks like Mossad style, could be wrong, in his bedroom. Now, he was not using a pistol for the assassination attempt. So why was he doing these videos that it looks like he was evidently trained that he was doing these things? Why was he doing them with a pistol? They also spent months, if you recall, analyzing location data, communicating.
So I didn't want to play this whole video. I'm trying to find the part where he starts talking about Tyler and UVU. Hold on. know it's further to the end. Let me see if he starts talking.
Assassination attempt in modern American history.
Oh, here it is. Yeah.
And the details are hidden behind enough black ink to refill every printer at the Department of Justice. Pretty interesting, right? And this is what bothers me. It's not that the emails existed. People email the government offices all the time. The problem is that nobody can tell us what the emails were about. That is where the story starts, because if it was completely harmless, why not just release it? If it was completely irrelevant, why not release it? If it was completely innocent, why not release it?
And it's the same thing with Charlie Kirk and UVU and Tyler Robinson. You know, same thing. I didn't find the right spot in it, but my apologies. This kind of came up at the last minute, but I wanted to put it in. Maybe I should have left it out, but I'll try to find it while I play a little bit more of Trump.
But no, I think that we'll either have something done fairly quickly or we'll finish it out militarily.
Are you talking about the son of the supreme
he's a
leader?
part of it, yes.
He has not been seen in public. What is
No,
his
but
status? Have you talked to him directly?
I do believe they have great respect for him. I see it. I mean, they want to get his concurrence. They've said to me, they've said to others that they're looking for approval, and he is part of the approval process, absolutely.
Have you spoken to him directly? You
I have
said you
not.
want to meet with him.
No, I have not. I would if he'd like to, but I have not spoken to him directly.
Do you know where he is?
I will tell you, they do.
How he is?
Yeah. They do pay homage to him. I would tell you if they didn't. They seem to, based on what I see, they seem to respect him a great deal.
Do you know where he is? Do you know how he is doing physically?
I don't want to say whether or not I know where he is, but there's a good probability that I do.
Is he inside Iran?
I'd rather not say that.
Okay, he is the son of the last supreme leader, who was obviously hardliner. Is this younger Khomeini any better for the United States than his father was?
Younger, I think more rational.
No.
Injured. He's pretty badly injured. So there's a certain bravery there. A lot of people, if they were injured that badly, they wouldn't be talking about, how we doing with the United States. They'd have other things on their mind. So there's a certain bravery there. But he is very seriously injured, yeah.
What is the status of talks exactly in the
So that was an art of the deal tactic right there. He knows that this interview is going to get back there, that they're going to show this to the younger Khomeini. And he is, playing a game, complimenting him. Okay. And trying to, let him know that he would love to do a deal with this younger version. It's nuts. It's nuts. Yep. Oh. All right. Let's see. I think there's a little bit more on here I want to show you.
this moment? How close are you to making a deal? Are we talking about days, weeks, months, Mr. President?
I think we're very close. We have a couple of points. They don't even seem like big points. They've conceded the fact that they will not have nuclear weapons.
And that, I don't even know. And not to mention, this interview came out before the strikes just went down with Philly and Iran. So no deal. No deal.
We had a clause in there that we will not develop nuclear weapons, and everybody was very happy with it except me. And I said, well, what happens if they not develop, but they go out and purchase, they acquire? I want to put the word, if they buy or purchase or acquire, you've got to have that in there too, because that's not developing. So they don't have the right to develop or purchase, acquire, or buy.
Oh, you guys can go watch that in its full context. I found this video of Charlie and Candace, which is weird. It wasn't there a while ago. TPUSA just put it back up. Yeah, it's weird. But I wanna see them together.
Hey everybody, great to be here. Candace, welcome to Wisconsin.
Yes, wonderful. I haven't done a campus event in so long, so I'm very honored and blessed to be here.
And we had to make sure, because we've been traveling so much, we're like, we're in Wisconsin, right? So, okay, we know what state that we're in. So Candace, I'm going to ask you the most difficult question that I think someone in power can possibly get, American politics, something that has befuddled the people at the top levels of government. What is a woman?
I'm not a biologist.
How did we get to a place where that is even like a question that now a Supreme Court justice can't answer?
Yeah, it's really interesting to talk about this topic at length, because I remember when we first started doing this, and you and I were traveling around the country 4 or 5 years ago, and I was really pressing on the transgender movement. And I remember conservatives at the time kept saying, this is such a small, this isn't going to matter much. Why are you focused on this? And I said, because this is what's going to come around the corner. It seems so obvious to me that was going to place emphasis on children, that it was also going to sort of deconstruct. It was already a radicalized feminist movement, but I saw this moving towards the abolition of women, right? And it seemed so natural throughout these feminist waves. And I was saying from the very beginning, I am not a feminist. I remember what we went through when the Me Too movement started. And I said, I don't support the Me Too movement because this is about the takedown of men, and they really came after us. But I really did see us getting to this point very quickly, where now we're talking about just abolishing what it means to be a woman. And it's interesting to consider the intersectionality of all of that, how people can say that they're feminists, but they won't use their platforms to speak out against this. And it was something to me, especially now, I'm 11 weeks away from giving birth to my second child. And I spoke at length.
So, and this is what I meant when I said you can kind of tell different stages, like what year it was based on Charlie's physique. He went through different stages in his, I think, health and fitness, and you can tell in his face and in his body. For me, so this is before Erica Kirk, right? Yeah. Hold on, I want to show you. Where is it? Where did I put it? I think I put it. No, profile. There we go. All right. So let me share. And then we'll go back to that, but give me a second. So on X, Crystal Smallin found a police report, like a witness statement from UVU. And let me make it big, and then hopefully it doesn't play without me hitting play. Oh, I knew it was going to happen. Jeez Louise. Stop. Okay, on the witness statement, the gentleman tells of his events that day and what time he gets there, that they walk down, and if you're looking at Charlie, the booth, they were here to the left on the ground floor. And this individual said that when he heard the shot, it sounded like it came just a couple levels or elevated position behind him to the right, not way off in the distance at the Losi Center. Okay. And that makes sense if these trained, whether they were former police, former military, were on the ground when this happened. And shortly after, when everyone's gone, right, these individuals are over here on the ground. This is the area where that gentleman said possibly the shot maybe came from. And it looks like they're looking for, I'm going to mute it because of the music. It looks like they're looking for a shell casing. That's the only thing that I could think of what they'd be looking for. Look at how they're walking, they're looking through the ground, they're kicking grass, they're picking stuff up, they're moving stuff. These are all security team members, not police. And they're looking for, in my opinion, an empty shell casing. It's the only thing, in my opinion, that they'd be looking for. What else would stop it? What else would be on the ground that they could pick up? What would it be? Thoughts? Do you guys have any other thoughts what you think it could be? I don't know. We still don't know. You know, I personally still believe that it was the mic, the road mic. John Bray's theory to me seems the most likely and plausible. We still just we have so much left to find out, you know? Yeah, there's still so many questions unanswered. Yeah. Yeah, it's odd that they were all searching. Yeah. Yeah. All right, I want to go here for Charlie.
An honor to meet you after like hearing about you for maybe like 5 years growing up and like hearing all the negativity about you. I'm like, it's an honor to be here to get to meet you because I've always been a believer in like listening to what other people have to say. And I just want to ask you a question. Do you like the new name for the body of water that was formerly called the Gulf of Mexico?
America, baby! The Gulf of America.
All right. All right. Do you also agree with the renaming of the mountain in Alaska that is known as either Mount McKinley or Denali? Do you agree of Donald Trump's renaming of, or I should say President Trump's renaming of that back to Mount McKinley?
I'm generally sympathetic. I can see where you're probably going with this line of questioning, and we'll see how astute you are.
No, I'm just curious to see what your opinion is.
No, that's fine. There's
no,
it's okay. There's a third question you could ask that would be pretty smart, but go ahead.
It's a name. A name's a name. I'm planning on becoming a teacher, so
No, it's fine. Maybe you're not going there. That's fine.
yeah. If it says Gulf of America, I'll play Gulf of America, Gulf of Mexico, just the Gulf, whatever it is. It's a name's a name. I'm sure you here in Oklahoma probably still call what is now today Hurricane Harbor. I'm sure some of y'all still call it Whitewater Bay. So a name.
Okay.
So, my name is Jacob Norwood. I'm a junior in high school, and I have a lot of friends who are born from illegal immigrants. And I was wondering if you agreed with the abolishment of the 14th Amendment, which allows birthright citizenship.
Yes, I do. I don't think it's going to hold up, but I do believe that the 14th Amendment was not intended for anchor babies. Correct.
I agree.
Well, I thought it was intended because people who would be brought over here during slavery, and then their children would then have birthright citizenship, and that was kind of the point.
Slaves were granted citizenship, though.
They were granted citizenship after they were brought here forcibly, and then
but then the kids of citizens are kids, though.
What is
our citizens?
What is the difference in immigrants 100 years ago coming here and having children here to immigrants coming here illegally now?
Well, slaves are a completely different moral category than someone who breaks into your country, right?
Okay, what about Chinese immigrants 100 years ago coming here illegally?
I think
and
it
then
should have been wrong then, and it's wrong now for sure. Both.
But then why would people?
It's been
agree
tried.
With it?
I mean, we've tried to get rid of this for quite some time.
Why agree with it then, though? Like, what's changed?
What do you mean? Why agree with it? What do you mean?
What's
by that?
changed now?
Well, we're revisiting the actual text of the 14th Amendment. I mean, nothing's necessarily changed, except we think the interpretation has been wrong because it says.
Right. And Charlie didn't agree with it then. He wasn't alive back then. But the people that vote and, make amendments and put laws into action, it's not all of us. It's not all of us. And so these things get decided way above and without our say so, and just because it was done back then didn't mean like it should have been done. Right. And doesn't mean just because something was done back then that we should continue doing it now, and look what it's done to our country. I think I found the part here that I want to hear.
Scenario. So if I say that I think the Gardasil vaccine is bad, people would say you're anti-vax. Again, it's that either it's so bifurcated. It's not that binary. You can say I have questions about vaccines without being anti-vax. People who have been vaxxed their entire lives and didn't want to get the COVID vaccine were suddenly called anti-vax, right? You can say I don't agree with COVID policy and they're calling you a grandpa killer. You want grandpa to be dead if you don't agree with lockdowns. So you constantly have a society that's afraid to think outside of the box, or else they're going to be branded with a scarlet letter. And I'm happy to wear all follow the scarlet letters when it comes to making decisions for myself and for my right to be free.
And I want to say this before we get to some questions. You know how rare it is for someone with Candace's platform to actually talk about these issues one after the other? You see, the corporate media, they want people like Candace just to say the same thing over and over again, right? Dr. Fauci, may his, sainthood forever be a blessing or whatever you're supposed to say, right? George Floyd, thank you, for what you've done for us or whatever, right? Zelensky is the new church or whatever ridiculous thing that they're trying to say, right? Yeah. Which is what they're saying, right? Instead, Candace is like, you know what? No, I have this platform and I'm going to say things that are true. And I don't care what you say back to me. And you don't see that at all, actually. In fact, that sort of courage is very, very rare in America, and it deserves to be applauded, truly.
And that is how Charlie felt about Candace saying what is true, what she felt is true. And same with him. Apply that to him. Apply that to him in 2025. Apply that to Candace Owens now. How would Charlie be feeling? Take him at his word. Take him at his word. Don't let Erica Kirk and Andrew Colvett and Blake Neff and others tell us what Charlie would and would not be saying now. How about we just let Charlie speak for himself? It's nuts. Oh my goodness. All right, you guys. If you guys haven't done so already, please do me a favor, hit the like and the subscribe. Another way that you guys, thank you, by the way, if you've done so. And if you haven't, please do. And thank you for doing so. Another way you guys can help support the channel is by when the video posts, like after live, you can show up and write a comment. And I always forget to say this. There's a thing called hyping. So like if you see where there's like a little box where you can like click either to write a comment or see the live chat replay, it has like dots on it. You just swipe over to where it says hype, and it doesn't cost any money. And you hit hype, and it lets you hype the video. And once a video gets enough hype points, or the more hype points video gets, YouTube is like, oh, people like the video, and it shares it with other non-subscribers, new people, which tremendously helps the channel and each video do better. And so that's another way you guys can help support me and this channel for free. Okay. And I appreciate it if you do so. Also, a lot of people don't like giving money through YouTube, and that's totally fine. You can help support this channel through Venmo. You can scan the QR code and donate and support this channel through there. All right. Or you can do it at buymeacoffee.com/theblacklinebrief. Just scan the QR and donate whatever support you would like to give. When you do so, it gives you an opportunity to write like a little memo or a note on what you would like your support to go to. And you can do it there. And you can say, I want my money to go to this. And then I make sure that it does. So let's see. I think I got to all the supers. Always be true. Yeah, I got to yours. I didn't know who else is here. Brave New World. How's it going? Good to see you. I don't know. Hey, Delaney. Let's see who else is here. Autumn, Dulcinea. Good to see you, Kristen. Good to see you, random member. What up? Thank you for your guys' support. Autumn, I think I said hi. Who else is here? Jay, what up, Jay? Thank you for being here. Let's see. I don't know. Did Sweet Sassy show up? If you're here, Sweet Sassy, hey. Banjaloon, good to see you. I think Jim Bear, Jim Carey, good to see you. Ramza Bafan, good to see you as well. Oh, the You Truth, haven't seen you in a minute. Good to see you. Thank you guys all for being here. Yeah. All right. That's everyone. Yep. Nice one. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Thank you guys for all your love and support. God bless you guys. Have a great night. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. God bless. Peace.